So on this week's episode of Be More Super, we're continuing a great theme. This Halloween, my suggestion for a film has got to be the Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre. And we've got yet another great star from that movie. It's Jayden Lund. Jayden, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it is a pleasure, and I've got to say, from watching the movie many times as I have, and I completely support the show. I've even got my Manson Brothers T-shirt. Yeah,
nice.
with my mug as well.
Oh, did you get the whole swag bag? Did you get did they send you like the whole box of stuff?
Oh, Mike and Chris looked after me because a lot of the stuff didn't ship out to the UK. And I was a bit disappointed. So it took a bit of time because obviously the mail over in the, from the US to the UK can be pretty slow. But the other day I found a lovely box full of goodies. I'm wearing the shirt with pride. And This is my mug, no one else's mug, not even the kids or the wife. It's just my show mug.
Mugs. I know I could purchase one. I should go get one, or maybe I'll call Chris and Mike and see if they'll send me
purchase one.
Swag bag.
Purchase one. You're Captain Marvellous. You shouldn't be purchasing one. They should be giving you one. With Captain Marvellous on it.
I don't ever want to ask for stuff for free, but maybe if I make some calls, I could probably get something for free.
I am sure you could. I am sure you could. So before we talk about this awesome movie that I've seen probably about 6-7 times now.
Wow, that's awesome.
I know. And do you know what? Anyone that hasn't watched it, they need to watch it, and they need to watch it more than once because there's so much going on and it's so well written that when you actually do watch it more than once, you miss things that you didn't see the first time, like the one-liners and the things going off in the background. And it's awesome. It really, really is. But before we talk about,
I think there is a lot of jokes upon jokes, and people laugh at that first joke and miss the next joke right underneath it. There might be a little zinger right underneath it that they totally missed the first time because they're laughing at the first joke.
Yeah, exactly. But before we talk about the movie, I want to find out a bit about you, Jayden, because you're a man of mystery. Because on IMDb there is not a lot of information about you. Plenty about your credits, which you've done so much stuff over the years. But first of all, where are you from? Where were you born? Because I've got conflicting things on the internet. Again, you're a man of mystery, sir.
Okay, well, hopefully I can clear this all up. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri. Go Chiefs! And but I was only there till 2 years old. I think I was there for 2 years, and then my family moved back to South Dakota. I grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where I went to school, and I lived, graduated high school. I went to college in South Dakota. And so that I'm from South Dakota. Both sides of my mom's family and my dad's family, they're all from South Dakota. It just happened to be I was born when my dad had a job in Kansas City, and so that might be a little confusing where I was born and where I was raised. But my whole family's from South Dakota, always has been. So,
and I've got to ask as well that why acting? I always ask my guests because it's not a normal profession. It really isn't, and it comes with a lot of struggle, a lot of obstacles. So why choose acting and not any other profession?
You know what? This might sound corny, but it wasn't a choice in my decision. I think I was 7 years old and I wanted to be an actor. I just knew that that's what I wanted to be, and so it was early on that this is what I wanted to do. And in South Dakota, you're already behind the eight ball. There's no avenue from Sioux Falls that's going to help you get on a fast track to be an actor. It was very difficult. And so, but I look back at all the struggling times. I was doing a touring show out of Omaha, Nebraska. And man, that was tough being in a van for hours and then getting to the place and performing, only to sleep that night and get up and do another show the next day. It was tough, but I look back at those times as some of the best times of my life. Just being an actor and performing, it was fantastic. But yeah, I performed all over the Midwest. Am I going off on a tangent, or did you ask this
No.
question? I'm
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. It's about what really inspired you to become an actor. You know, was
like I
there a
said, I
movie
don't
that
know
you
if
saw
there was
or?
any inspiration or something hit me. I just, as a kid, was always performing for my friends, always performing for my family. I wanted to do, make people laugh. I was trying to be funny all the time, and then, it just as I grew and got older. I mean, I even by the time I was in high school, I know I'd already performed in shows at the Orpheum Theater in Sioux Falls. I'd done a lot of children's theater and just did a lot of stuff. So by the time I hit high school, I was auditioning, and I felt very comfortable to audition for these. And I was getting roles when I was, a sophomore, getting lead roles. So I just, it just like happened. There was no question of that. I was not going to be an actor. I know this sounds bizarre, but there was never a time in my life that I can think of. I was like, well, maybe I should be a lawyer. Maybe I should be this. I wanted to be an actor. That was it. And not so sure it was the best. It's a lot of times I'll say, pick something else.
But the great thing about being an actor is that you can be that doctor. You can be that
right
as an actor. You can actually be all of those. There is a cartoon over in the UK called Mr. Ben, which is a kid's cartoon, and every episode he goes in and he becomes someone else. So it's a bit like that, being an actor, that you can actually, be whatever you want on screen, which I think's a beautiful thing about acting. So when
Absolutely.
Stars started out, what did your family? I mean, are you from a creative family, or was this a complete surprise to them that you wanted to pursue a career in acting?
It was a surprise to my father. I remember he sitting me down once and saying, "Well, so your mother thinks you want to take these acting classes. Is that something you want to do?" I don't know if I was 7 or 8 or whatever, and I was like, my dad was asking, and I could tell he was not interested in driving me back and forth to rehearsals or to classes. He had no desire to do this, but if I wanted to do it, that was fine. But my mom was very supportive. She really, she thought, oh, he loves doing this. We got to help him do this as best they can in Sioux Falls. So, it's my dad never. I mean, but my dad was also, he was a different person. He was old school in the ways of, trying to motivate me. It being hard on me about being acting, that motivated me more to be a good actor than anything else. If I had to do this, I had to be good. And my dad was not going to allow me to do this and be okay. I had to be good at it. So I was constantly trying to prove to him that I should be an actor, which is great. I needed that.
And I've got to say, again, with dads, I did performing arts at college and university as well. And I've got to say, my dad was ex-army, very old school. So when I told him I wanted to be an actor, it confused the hell out of him, because he couldn't understand why. He was like, wait a second, why don't you want to join the army? Why don't you want to be a mechanic? And I can remember he came to one of my first shows, and it was the first time he's ever said that he was proud of me, which I've got to say has really stuck with me throughout the years. What did they think of your first performances when they went to to see you? Were they proud?
There was a lot of plays. This is something. It's going to sound awful, but if you know my dad is extremely funny. And, he would just sit after every show that I would go to. And he would go, how many plays have you dragged your mother and I to? And I go, I don't know, Dad, a lot. And he'd go, I've liked 2. And that was his way of telling me this one was not one that he liked.
Bless him.
So I got that a lot. But, man, what motivation that was. Because the 2 that he liked, he came back multiple times. He brought all his friends, and he was very proud of me in those times that when I was doing a show that he really liked, and that made it worth it. I mean, I liked that he made me fight for it. He made me fight very hard to get his approval.
I mean, am I right in saying you now live in LA? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And was that move, because of the acting, or was it because you like?
Oh yeah,
the city of Los Angeles.
To New York first. I had an agent that saw me in a show and said he'd represent me, and he was in New York. I said, well, then that's it. I'm going to New York. And I went there. He did represent me, and I just couldn't get going in New York. I just was stumbling. It's hard just to make rent. I was young and stupid, did not know what I was doing. And it just was hard. And I kept going until I just realized. And then a friend of mine said, hey, man, I just moved to LA. You can come stay with me. And I said, I just jumped on it. I said, okay. I quit my job and moved to LA. And I didn't regret it at all. It was tough here, too. You know, you think LA is going to be so easy compared to New York. And it's not. It's difficult in different ways. It might be sunny every day out here, but there's so much confusion, and people will be booking work all the time. And I'm watching them going, I don't think they've had an acting class. How are they working so much? And just nothing made sense to me. It wasn't like the person who worked the hardest and was the most talented was going to get the work. It could be anybody. It could be somebody's nephew who got him the job. So I don't know. Weird.
And what was your first impressions of LA when you went there? I mean, was it paved with gold? Was it,
no,
shining light of Hollywood?
I remember thinking I was going to be out in 2 years. I was like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time out here, because New York had just beat me up. I was coming out here. I was going to give it a few years, and then I'm out. And this is a long story, but I'll try and. I did a play out here that I had done in New York, and the writer, somebody out here called and said, "Hey, we want to do your play out in L.A." And she said, "Well, Jay Lund's out in L.A. If he's available, I want him to play the same role he played in New York." And so I got into this theater company that I didn't try to get into or anything. I just did a play with them, and it went off so well. It was really well received. It was a very funny show. I met people that are still friends of mine to this day in that play. And Bruno Kirby came to the play, saw me in the play, went to dinner with me afterwards, and asked me all these questions of what was my motivation for that part there. What was, asking me all these questions. I was just like, this is amazing that I'm having a conversation with Bruno Kirby about acting. I was floored. And we became very fast friends, and he asked me to be in a play that he was directing right after that. And it just seemed that everything just started, one thing led to another. You just slowly started figuring stuff out in LA, and I was like, okay, now I'm getting it. And all of a sudden I'm booking, film and television. But you'd have one great year, and then the next year everything would fall apart. And you're like, oh, I thought I had the ball rolling. And so that's been pretty much my whole career, really.
I mean, have you got a backup plan? Because I've got to say, acting, I suppose, can be quite secure on one side, but then very insecure on the other. I mean, have you got a backup plan, or is that like sort of tempting fate if you decide to yourself, do you know what, I'm going to go into this direction if things sort of dry up?
No, I didn't. I know a lot of people do that, and I know it's very smart to do that. But I just think the bigger cushion that you set up to fall, and you make it easier to fall, you might fall. You might just fall. And I just said, you know what? I'm not going to make it easy. If this doesn't work out, let my whole world fall apart. I'll worry about that when it comes.
You just live in the dream. I mean, what's been the biggest obstacle for you, starting out? Because, it couldn't have been an easy road to get to where you are now, because you've been in quite some big films and starred in some great shows. I mean, what has been the obstacle for you that you've had to overcome over the past, 10 years?
Myself. I think myself. I think the doubt, the self-doubt that I've had to deal with, the things that I keep beating myself about, going in an audition and just going, I have to get this. This is the one. This is perfect for me. This is the role for me. And I go in there just all wound up, and I'm not prepared the way, if you just go in and go, I got, the roles that I go in and I'm like, I know this guy, watch this, and go back and comfortable, and it goes well, and I book it. But the big ones where I think this is the one that could change my career, this is the one, I get too much in my head. I get bunged up, and I don't audition well. And so I'd say the answer is me. The obstacle in my life has been me. If I could have just been comfortable and relaxed in all these auditions, I think I could have done much better.
And do you find it easier now because obviously with the pandemic and auditions are now turning more towards self-tapes? Do you find that easier than actually auditioning in person? Or
Well, that's a great question, Brian. And I talked to my friends about this recently. That it's there are good things about it because you can do it 40 times in a row. You can get it to where you're totally happy with it and then send it off. That's great. You don't get that in the room if you go in an audition. But I also like that if you're comfortable talking to people and casting directors and stuff and the assistant, and you get to know the assistant and make a couple jokes on the way in, the assistant's always happy to see you the next time you come in. I think that's a positive thing too that helps me, in auditions, is meeting these people personally and talking to them about things like you and I are talking. And I think that helps you get the job, or at least get a call back before you can meet the director and writers and stuff. So I kind of miss that about going in and seeing the audition. I think that helps me in auditions. May hurt me doing them at home, but again, you certainly can ask any one of your friends to help you out, work on it. You can work it forever. They give you 3 days now instead of you have an audition tomorrow morning at 8 a.m, be there, and you're up all night trying to memorize the lines as best you can. That's not always the best. That's not great.
And can you remember your worst ever audition that you've had that just went absolutely tits up?
Well, there's a flood of auditions, but I'd have to say there was one in New York where I was auditioning for. I did a lot of musicals back then, and so I had to practice singing a song for these auditions, and I auditioned this song all night. I was "Joy to the World" was a song that they asked me to sing, and I was like, I can sing this. I know I can sing this, and I hired some guy to on a piano and play with me, and he was like, "No, you got to belt that out. You got to really hit that." And I'm screaming, Jeremiah, what's the trying to scream this out and make it sound great, and I just blew my voice out. I woke up and could not speak the next day. I went to the audition, and these two guys were like, "Hi, you're going to sing for us?" I go, "Guys, I'll sing it, but I don't." Yeah. Well, that's what you're here for. So, and it was like nothing was coming out. I'm like, it was the worst thing that anybody has ever heard. And I just wanted to stop it, but they wouldn't say just stop. They just let me go through this whole song, and I stopped, and they were like, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you shouldn't be pursuing being an actor. And I lost my mind. I was like, who are you to tell me this? Who are you to, I lost my mind. I grabbed the song from the piano guy and I'm storming around. I was so miserable. It was the worst experience of my life.
Wow.
But I had so many of them. But some of them turned out to be positives. There was one I did one early on in New York for Law and Order, and they asked me to be a scientist or something. They were looking for clues on what this, and I was like, well, I found something in the man's watch. I found a pubic hair in the watch. So what you're looking for is a blonde, a natural blonde. And I'm doing like this. I'm doing this like auditioning, and she's crying, laughing. The casters are crying, laughing. I'm like, this is not a funny role. I don't know. She goes, yeah, you're looking at the hair in a telescope. You're not holding it. So I was doing the whole thing like I'm holding it. That was completely embarrassing. But she called me back the next week, and I booked that next job. She liked it, so she laughed. She thought it was ridiculous that I made that choice, but she liked me and got me a job. God bless her.
Well, many say that I think the term is peacocking, where you become so memorable that they do remember you for the future, and I think that is maybe key. So let's talk about zombies. Okay, because this movie is astonishing. It really, really is. If you could tell the viewers and the listeners who you play and a bit about the movie in your own words.
Oh, okay. Well, I play Captain Marvellous. And pretty much, so all these wrestlers have had their heyday at some point in their life, but this is not it. They are now on a lesser group of wrestlers that they're trying to just go from town to town. They're not going to big towns. They're going to smaller towns like Santa Fe. And they end up in Santa Fe in a smaller arena. And this is where they're wrestling now. This is where their lives are. And, they kind of are a little miserable as they get older. And my character in particular is very miserable about his life. And anyway, they're still good wrestlers. But, they're just going. So a lot of complaining at the beginning, trying to figure out how they're going to do the wrestling, how they're going to do the match. And then they find out a couple of the wrestlers are on this new steroid that turns them into zombies. And is that a spoiler? Should I be saying? I mean, that's early on, right?
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. It's some zombies. You got wrestlers on the poster.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, if they haven't seen it, it's their own fault.
There is a zombie breakout. I can say that there's a zombie breakout, and these wrestlers have to fight zombies. How brilliant of an idea is that? Wrestlers fighting zombies. Yeah, how can you lose?
Yeah, and your character in this movie is just hilarious. It really is. Your dialogue is awesome. I mean, how did the project come about for you? How did it fall on your lap?
I've been friends with Max Martini even back when I was in New York. Max and I had met in New York years ago, many, many years ago. And we met through mutual friends. So I knew him, but we didn't know each other really well. But we certainly had a few beers back in the day and knew each other pretty well. And then he said, I'm going to L.A. I got an agent and I'm moving to L.A. And I was like, wow, all of a sudden he's going to L.A.? Well, all right, good luck. And I literally went to a movie probably 6 months. It felt like 6 months after that. And Max is in the movie. I think it was Contact. I saw him and I'm like, oh my God, he's went out there and now he's, going crazy. Anyway, so Max, Max and I did a movie out here together. And it just happened. We both booked it. And we started hanging out again out in LA. And anyway, they were looking for a big guy for this role. And he thought of me. And he had mentioned, hey, I got a friend, Jayden Lund, and Mike Haggerty. I don't know if you interviewed him. Mike Haggerty, one of the producers. I've worked with him years ago, and it just happened. He goes, I know Jayden Lund. So once Mike and Chris heard that they both knew me, I think they were like, oh, all right, well, let's try and get him. I was like, yeah, well, not too hard to get me. I'm just sitting on the couch, so whenever you're ready. So Max I auditioned for Max, brought it in, and I think Max was thinking of a specific character for this, and I don't think I was hitting right what he wanted right away. I was like, I'm not sure. And so he talked to me. He was like, this is what this character. I was like, I got it. It's just like, I got it. I know what you're saying. Let me redo it. So I redid the audition, sent it, and he was like, Jay, this is exactly the character. Yes, and I got the job.
That's awesome.
And I was over the moon getting this job. I really took it very seriously. This is the type of movie I want to do. It's funny. There's a lot of action. It's great. It was a blast. I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat if I could.
And when you had your script for the very first time and you read through it, what were your first impressions of the writing and the story?
It was great. I read it. I was laughing. I got the whole gist of it. I got it right when I was reading it. So it's easier to read than some scripts where you're like, I'm not sure the style of this. This style was very obvious from the page one on this. So it was an easy read to understand. I just there were some choices at the end. I don't want to talk about choices and stuff where I was like, wow, I don't know why they chose that, but I've never seen that. That's bizarre choice. And I love it. So this was a great read. I was really hooked when I read the script. I wanted to do this movie.
And how did you develop the character of Captain Marvellous? Because do you know what? I just wanted to be Captain Marvellous's friend. I just felt sorry for him, but he just seemed like he's always been dealt like the shit end of things. Do you know what I mean? And he just felt you just felt sorry for him. I mean, how do you develop a character like that and bring that character to life?
Well, every actor's got a different way of approaching it, but I always try to develop people that I've known that are like this, and to me. When I'm acting, I'll first start with, this person, I know a person like this, and you'll kind of hone in on that person. And once I'm starting to, I'm like, what traits do I have that are exactly the same as his. And I want to say, here's the things that I do that person does. And then once I start getting into, okay, now I have some familiarity with this character. Now I've got this part, and I just have to start working on the rest. And it just starts to fall into place. Once you start realizing that, I'm just, things just aren't going my way. And, and just, you just kind of, it just starts developing itself. For me personally, I know there's actors out there rolling their eyes at what I'm saying, but that's how I develop a character, is find out what this person should be, what this character should be, and then find the things that I am, the things that I might not be proud of or I might not show, but we all have insecurities and things like that in us. And if this person's insecure, then that's what I want to tap into.
And have you got a favorite scene? Because I've got a favorite scene that you were in, but it's interesting to hear what your favorite scene to film was.
Wow. Well, it's funny you say that, because there are a couple scenes that I would say would have normally been my favorite scene, but I was having a bad day and in pain, and I was just trying to get through it. The scene in the locker room when I'm talking to the great Chorizo. That was, that turned out great. That scene turned out great. A lot of people say they love that scene, but I had hurt my knee on the set, and I was just trying to get through that scene. I was just trying not to show that I was in pain. And so I don't look back on that one and go, oh, that was such a great day. What is my favorite scene? I'd have to say, when I go into Carson's and see his dressing room for the first time, that's probably one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, that is my favorite scene. It's the oddest thing ever. It is the oddest thing ever, and I just thought, my God, this is so off the wall. But I was laughing my head off because
that's the type of choices that I'm talking about. Like, why they just made a choice and they just went with it. They said, all right, this is how we're gonna do it. And I love it. I love when they made bizarre choices like that. That's what I loved about this script.
And this is why I think that there's some magical things to come for the Manson brothers and this franchise, especially if they bring it to comic books, because I just think it would just do fantastic. It really will. I mean, filming wise, the cast and crew, they seem like a blast. I mean, what was filming like day in, day out? Was it as relaxed as you would imagine? Was it just laughs all the time, or was it quite serious?
No. Well, it's funny that you said it, because we did have a blast. I had so much fun on the set. And usually with low-budget feature films, this has been my experience, is you either have a blast making the movie, and then that movie gets shelved and nobody ever sees it. And you're like, oh, we had so much fun, but evidently we didn't make a great movie. And this one, I remember talking to somebody, I was like, I hope this movie does well, because it deserves to, because we had so much fun making it. And everybody got together, but it wasn't like we didn't have time on the set to make all these a goofy reel or a blooper reel and make flub up our line. We didn't have time for that. We had to be serious on the set, and everybody took it very seriously. That's what I'll say. Max called a lot of friends to cast this. He pulled a lot of strings, got a lot of friends, asked favors from people, and everybody showed up, and everybody worked really hard on that. And I got to give Max credit for that. That was amazing. He found a great cast. And but Mike and Chris, not only did they write a great script and they were great in the movie, they were so humble on the set. You bring in the trailers for everybody, and there's a big honey wagon with the tiny little rooms for everybody just to go in and change clothes and then come back out. That's all there's room. You're not going to hang out in that trailer. Mike and Chris were in the tiny trailer. They were in the honey wagon right next to me. So how am I ever going to complain about anything if these guys are on the same, they're doing the same for them as they're doing for me. I just never felt like anybody had any room to say, wow, any diva stuff or any of that stuff that an actor will do, not on this set. Nobody was in that mode. And usually you get one or two actors going, I can't deal with this. This is too dirty. This is filthy. I'm not doing. Everything was dirty and filthy on this set. nobody cared. It was like, come on, we're making this movie, and everybody was excited about doing it. If you were ever like, oh man, this is getting a long day. This is a long day, and you just look over and Mike and Chris, and you're going, isn't this a long day? And they're going, I know. Isn't this great? Isn't this amazing? Like, they loved every second of it. How can you be disappointed or depressed or anything when the two guys that are in charge of this are having a blast? This is their dream come true, and that just made everybody in a great mood. Everybody was working hard on this, and we had a blast on the set and off. We would go out afterwards, and Santa Fe doesn't keep the bars open too late. We found out during the week. That was kind of tough, which was probably helpful because we probably would have stayed all night if they did. But we'd go in, have a beer, and then get up the next morning and do it all over again. But it was so much fun. It really felt like going to camp or something, because everybody you got along with, you had so much fun on the set. And man, I'm so happy that this movie turned out the way it did, because it really deserved to. They really deserved to make a great movie, and I think they did.
And it definitely shows on screen, the amount of work and the fun. I can just tell on screen, that everyone just got on with it and had a great time. But the most important question is, did you get to keep your outfit?
This is a huge question that I get a lot. I did not. Somebody asked me if I wanted it, and I said no. I don't. Well, it was a onesie, right? So, and it was really, really stuck to my skin. I mean, I sweat. So this thing was, I'd have to peel it off at the end of every night, just peel it off. It was in bad shape. There was a costume designer, or a costumer, Ursula was her name. Wonderful person. After every cut, she'd have to run up and sew something back on that suit. And it was falling apart, and she'd run on, started or glue something here. She's constantly was working on it, and so by the end of it, it was barely together. And so I was like, "No." So, oh, you're gonna want this. Trust me, you're gonna want this. Like, no, I don't ever see me putting that back on. But you're right. I wish I would have kept it. Now.
And there was me thinking that I could have gone out for Halloween as Captain Marvellous. That would have been awesome. It really does.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Honestly, you have put superheroes on a whole new level in the fact of what the way you looked. It was just magnificent, and I was very, very, very proud of you. And that is my goal, to be Captain Marvellous. Forget Superman. Captain Marvellous all the way.
If you do,
definitely,
you got to send me a picture.
Definitely. So looking on your IMDb, I've got to say there is not a lot of trivia there. So I like to get a bit of nuggets about you that maybe we could possibly put on your IMDb. So, what is the most interesting fact about you?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question. I didn't see that one coming at all. I don't know. What's the most interesting thing about me?
Yeah, or the most oddest thing. Something that someone might not know about you. Something that is just bizarre.
Okay, well, this one I hate telling, but I will say this. I managed a strip club in New York just before I moved out here. That was when I was at rock bottom, but I was managing a strip club in New York City in 98 or whatever it was. And that's when I was like, I got to get out of here. That's a whole different world. I was like, this is not for me. This is rough. That's I don't know. I don't know how people do that. Not to say
but it's research.
What's that?
It's research for a future role. Look at it that way.
Yes, yeah. I wish it was. I wish it was something. I wish I could use that experience at some point, because I just bizarre how I got into that at the end of New York. But New York was so tough. I had to keep going from job to job, and I was a bouncer, and I was a bouncer at a biker bar in New York, And that's how I met these guys that said, "Hey, you ever need a job? Come work for us." And I was like, that's not going to happen. And then lost that. I quit that job in the bar, the biker bar, and then I had no choice. I'd gone 2 months without work, and I was like, I gotta call these guys, and I did. And I started bouncing there, and then they just slowly made, you know what, you're going to run this place. I'm going to what? I'm going to, so I was like, how did I get here? Yeah, I guess that's probably the most bizarre part about me. I don't think people would pick that.
And what's been the most embarrassing moment in your career? Like anything that's happened that's been, that's been really embarrassing.
I have so many embarrassing moments. Here's a great one. I was in Sweet Life with Zach and Cody. And I was just doing a bit part. I think I played a carpets. I was putting down carpet or something in their suite. And there was a young kid on the set who played. There was a 16-year-old girl who was a series regular, and then there was a 16-year-old kid that came in to play the boyfriend for a guest spot for that show. And I was like, wow, if I was 16 and had a guest spot, how awesome would that be? And so I just went up to him and said, "Hey, how are you? I'm Jay." And he's like, "Hey." And I said, "Zach," and I was like, "Hey, nice to meet you." And he goes, "Yeah, nice to meet you." And I'm talking to him, just off the set, and I'm like, "It's got to be a good role for you, right? I mean, guest spot on a show, that's got to be nice, you know?" And he looked at me like I was joking or something, and I was like, "What? No?" And then he just walked away, and I was like, "Wow, that's weird." Turned out that was Zac Efron. I had no idea who he was. And he's just doing a favor to coming in, filling in, doing this role. And he had just done High School Musical, which I didn't know. Every 16-year-old girl knew who he was, but I didn't. I just completely embarrassed myself.
That is fine. That you know what? Why would you know who he was? To be fair, and we've all been through that. I mean, I was in a green room once, and I turned round to this man and said, "Are you with the band?" And he said in quite a deep American accent, he said, "Yeah." And then 5 minutes later, I heard the sound check, and I saw I heard the song "War." What is it good for? And we were doing support for them. For Edwin Starr, and as I went to the stage, I realised the guy I was talking to was Edwin Starr, and literally as he came off stage, he patted me on the back. So there we go. I mean, you mistake people so easily, and
so
he was such a star, you know. God bless his soul. Yeah. But and then lastly, your party trick. What is your go-to party trick?
Oh, I used to do, I haven't done it in a long time, but I used to do an impression of a jack-o'-lantern. And I used to light a match and put it in my mouth and just bite it with my teeth and let it just burn in my mouth while I have my teeth out. And I would say it was a jack-o'-lantern. That was my trick. But, wow. I'll tell the trick. I don't do it anymore, so it is a trick. The saliva on your top of your mouth really won't let the top of your mouth burn. Somebody's going to try this now, and don't do this.
Yeah, do not try this.
Yeah, but because when you're putting it, people do it slowly in the mouth, and then they burn their lip and stuff. So it is not a good trick. But I used to do that, and everybody thought, "Wow, it's amazing," because I could let it burn for a while. But it's just as hot as a slice of pizza. When you burn your roof of your mouth. So I thought that was cool back in the day, but not anymore.
We get older and we get wiser, and I used to put sambuca in my mouth and light it in my mouth, so the flames came out your mouth, and then you would swallow it. And obviously I become older, a parent, grayer, and I know that's a bad idea. Exactly. It's not going to be good in the morning. So if you was a diva, Jay, if you was a diva, what 3 things would you have on your rider on your next project? Say that you had to send in a rider and you had to demand 3 things. What would they be?
Wow. If I was a diva, I'm at the age now where I would definitely want a stunt double. I'm too old to do even the small things now. I used to go, especially this last, thank God I didn't have any stunts or too many. I didn't have any stunts that I couldn't do on this last one. Let me say that. But realistically, I had no stunts. It wasn't like some of these stunt guys. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. I'm drinking with the bars with them one night. Next morning, I'm showing up and they're getting thrown around, and they're zombies, all painted up in zombies, and just run around screaming, and then slamming into something. I'm like, oh man, it's not me. It's not me.
That is going to hurt in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely any stunts. I think those days are gone. But hard to find a big guy that's a stunt man too. That's why they always ask me, well, maybe could you just try it? And I'm like, no. So if I was a diva, I would say no more. And what else? I don't really need a big trailer. I don't need assistants asking me if I need anything. I guess I would want really great food on the set, which is usually the case. People don't like to skimp on food because that'll be a mutiny on any set if the food's bad. Everybody gets angry. So food's always pretty good, but man, if I had nice steak, come in for lunch, I might be a diva about that.
And a comfy chair.
You said?
And a comfy chair, a big comfy chair.
Oh, yes, a comfy chair.
So after you've had that steak, you can have an afternoon nap.
Yeah, I have to say, some places don't have chairs for all the actors, and so a lot of people are standing. And I know the union says no, they all have chairs, but the problem that will happen is they'll set up all these chairs one place where they're in the morning, and then you've moved down 2 blocks down the road to shoot somewhere else. Those chairs didn't make it over. They have enough chairs, but they just don't seem to make it all over. And you'll just show up going, is there anywhere I can sit down? I'm like, just be patient. We're just about to shoot. And okay, all right. And that might take 45 minutes. And you're like, I got to stand here. I can't go anywhere. I've got it.
Wow.
A weird thing to say. Demand a chair. A nice comfy chair, though. Does wonders.
Awesome. And what have we got to look forward to in the future from you? Anything that you can share about anything that you're doing at the moment, or is it a case of
I've been auditioning a lot. This COVID, I didn't audition a lot, so I didn't have much going on. But now I'm auditioning. I'm very happy that I'm auditioning a lot. And the auditions that I'm getting are like, I just auditioned for a Leprechaun. I'm 6'4".
6'4".
There got to be a different angle on that Leprechaun that they're doing, but very excited if I got that. And then there was a pirate I auditioned for just before that. These are really unique ones. I love different ones like that. Rather than being the attorney and going, Your Honor, I rest my case. I don't know. That doesn't really excite me as much.
That's fair enough. And people can follow you on Instagram. I think, is it only Instagram that you're on?
Instagram. I'm on Facebook too. It's just my name, Jayden Lund. I think on both of them.
Wonderful. So we're going to get everyone following you on that. And lastly, before we end this wonderful interview, Jay, why should people go out and watch the Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre?
There's no big message in this movie. There's no big, it's a lot of fun. It's hilarious. You don't have to think. There's not all these bizarre things. It's just a crazy, fun movie to watch. I think everybody would enjoy it. I probably, people are going, oh no. I think it's a blast to watch. I think most people would really enjoy watching this movie and loving every minute of it. But if you need some sort of twist or some sort of meaning or something, maybe this is not for you. But if you just want to go out and have a good time, this is the movie to watch.
And definitely, so the movie is now streaming on literally everywhere, from Amazon to Google to Apple. So you can grab it wherever you grab your streamable content. And that was Captain Marvellous telling you to go out, watch the movie, and you will definitely enjoy it. And there's one thing going to watch a really scary movie on Halloween, but it's great to watch a scary but funny movie as well on Halloween,
Right.
A few laughs, well, a lot of laughs to be fair, and the makeup is amazing, and the action is amazing. So get out there, watch the movie, leave all your reviews, and then I'll put all the links with this video for all the streaming content and your social media, Jay. But thank you so much for being a guest. It's been an honour. Look after yourself, keep safe, and I hope to speak to you in the future.
Brian, thank you so much. It's so great to do this. I can't thank you enough.